Good morning, second grade. So today for science, we are going to talk about our final animal research piece, which is adaptations. So I'm going to share a little my screen so you can see our PowerPoint that I have. I'm going to play this. Okay. So we have adaptations. So we already learned that habitats are a natural home or environment where an animal lives, and we learned about the different types of habitats. So animals adapt, or plants and animals share habitats. For example, camels and, so I'm trying to move there we go. Camels, snakes, and cactuses share a desert habitat, and animals, just like people, can learn to adapt to their environment. So that means that we have to learn how to live in a different place. So animals have to learn how to live in a different place. So not all animals can live in every habitat. As you can see down here, the camel can't really live in the Arctic. Camels belong in the desert because they're not made or not built to live in the Arctic. So animals adapt to the habitats where they live, So animals adapt to where they live in order to meet their basic needs. So their basic needs include food, water, air, being able to find and make shelter, being able to tolerate severe weather like hurricanes or sandstorms and things like that, being able to attract another animal so they can have babies or produce offspring, and being able to stay safe. So these are some of the ways that animals help meet their basic needs, and these are some of the reasons that they may have to adapt to a new place. So an adaptation is a body part or behavior that helps a living thing survive. So we have two types of adaptations. We have physical adaptations, so things like fur or sharp teeth or claws, and behavioral adaptations, so things that they do that help them survive. So some physical adaptations are adaptations that they use based on their features to help them survive. For example, the color of an animal's fur, the shape of its teeth or beak, or its height. So giraffes are really tall because giraffes need to eat the trees that are very high. So their adaptation is how tall they are. It helps them eat the trees which they need for food to survive. So sometimes the color of an animal can blend in. We call this camouflage. And this is when an animal's color matches where it lives, and so it can blend in and protect itself from being eaten. That's also a physical adaptation. So some other examples are different kinds of feet. So if an animal lives in the mountains, like this mountain goat in the picture, then that animal is going to have different types of feet to really be able to climb a mountain versus a camel who just has to walk on sand. Sharp beaks or teeth to help them either fight off predators or get food. Long tongues, like giraffes also have long tongues to help them really reach and be able to get to what they need for food. Long legs or long tails. Sharp claws or fingers. Thick or thin fur or skin. So remember, if it's colder, you're going to want thick fur, and if it's warmer, you're going to want thinner fur so you can stay cool. And then their color, pattern, or shape. So animals have different needs based on where they live, which is why we have different physical adaptations. A dolphin is going to have very different adaptations than a bear because one lives in the water and one lives on land. One of the most commonly known ones, as I was speaking about, is camouflage. And that's the color, pattern, or texture that helps an animal blend in with its environment. You'll notice there's 5 arrows in this picture, and they're all pointing to an animal that is camouflaged to match its environment. So a lot of times, different insects can camouflage, mammals can camouflage, any type of animal can camouflage, but we see it a lot with animals that can change colors, like chameleons, and geckos can change color sometimes as well, depending on the type. So they can blend in so they can't be found by people, or not people, by animals that want to eat them, or people, I guess, sometimes. So most animals have a type of camouflage that helps them to blend into their environment. So we have concealing camouflage, disruptive coloration, disguise, and mimicry. So concealing coloration is the most common one. It's where, like I just said, the animal is the same color as their environment. So the Arctic fox turns from brownish red to white in the winter because when it starts to snow, they need to change their coloring to be able to camouflage and conceal themselves. We also have disruptive coloration. It's where an animal has spots or stripes or patterns in their fur or skin. So in the jungle, zebras, leopards, and tigers have stripes that help them blend with the tall grasses. In this picture over here on the left, there's actually a tiger hiding in those trees. And you might not even be able to see it because he's camouflaged so well. You can always pause the video and keep looking if you can't find him. And in the woodlands, the baby's deer or fawns look different from their parents because they have white spots on their back to help them blend with the forest floor. A disguise is when an animal looks like something else. So this bug over here on the left is called a walking stick. And you might walk right by it thinking it looks like a real stick. But actually, it's a bug, and it looks like a stick to help it disguise itself so nobody would bother it. And then finally, we have mimicry. So mimicry is a special type of camouflage that a select few animals use. And it makes themselves look poisonous or dangerous to scare off predators. So this picture here is of a giant silkworm moth, and it has two large spots that look like giant eyes. So it tells the animals that want to eat them, their predators, that they're poisonous. So no predator wants to eat this giant moth, even though it's not really poisonous. It's just tricking their predators. And then we have our behavioral adaptations. So we have 4 main behavioral adaptations: hibernation, migration, instinct, and learned behavior. So hibernation is one that you've probably heard of before. So remember, hibernation is when animals that live in the cold places where there's a winter. It's a special kind of winter slumber that helps animals survive by using the food stored inside their bodies. So bears are our biggest one that we usually hear about. Bears hibernate to help them keep their food stored when there's not a lot of food outside for them to get. So hibernation is when they're dormant or inactive, they're not moving around a lot, where an animal's normal body activity slows down. So their heartbeat slows down, their breathing slows down. And during hibernation, an animal uses very little energy to survive, and it lives on the fat stored in its body. And it usually starts in the fall and continues until winter's almost over. So we have animals that are true hibernators, like groundhogs and fish and bees and chipmunks and bats. But bears, raccoons, and skunks are light hibernators. So these light hibernators take long naps, but they don't go into a deep sleep or have extreme body changes like true hibernators. Migration is another adaptation. So migration is when animals move from one place to another and then go back. So many animals do this every year, and some of them go thousands of miles. And it could be to find more food. It could be to find a warmer place. In the fall, we notice a lot of birds are migrating to the south where it's a little bit warmer. And then they come back in the springtime. Like right now, we're seeing a lot more birds out than we did in the winter. And this is what we just talked about. Some move to find food, better climate, to give birth to babies. So migration is instinctive. That means that birds know how to do it and they know how to get to where they migrate without somebody telling them. They have like an internal sense of where they need to go. Some of them travel very long ways on land. Some of them have to cross water. It depends on the type of animal. Then we have instinctive behaviors. So animals are born knowing how to do things. Just like as a baby, you were born learning, most of you were born knowing how to eat and sleep and cry. So these behaviors are called instincts, and that helps them meet their basic needs. So a lot of them know how to make shelter, find food, attract another animal to help make babies, and stay safe without having to be taught by their mom or dad. So spiders know how to spin a web, and birds know how to build a nest as soon as they're born. And people have instincts too, like we talked about. And then we have learned behaviors. So some behaviors have to be learned from their parents to help the animal survive. So like tiger cubs have to learn how to hunt from their mom. And that's something that they have to learn how to do if they want to be able to hunt. And just like some instincts that animals are born with are not enough. So animals need to learn the behaviors from others in order to survive, like learning how to get fish like these bears. A lot of things about learned behavior are flexible. It can change if the conditions change. So if it's wintertime, they might learn something different than if it's summertime. So we're not going to look at this today. So those are some of the adaptations that that animals have. So your job today is going to be to either go on Pebble Go or another website with a parent or adult and find the adaptations for your animal that you chose. And you're going to fill out an animal adaptations worksheet or a Google form, depending on whether you have a printer or not at home. So if you have a printer, you can print off this worksheet that I'm going to share right now and fill it out. If you don't have a printer, you can fill out the Google form. So I just want you to list a couple adaptations your animal has, maybe 2 or 3. And if you're having trouble, think about what body parts does your animal use to protect itself? What body parts does your animal use to get food? What behaviors help your animal to survive? And you can always rewatch this video and go through the slideshow again and think about if your animal does any of those things. If you have questions or any comments, you can dojo message or email Miss Chin or I. But I hope everyone has a terrific Tuesday and has a great day.